Morning, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you, fellow
Yeah,
ranter?
yeah. We just had a little rant off screen before we started about various things, but you, you've changed location as well.
Yes, I have. I have. I haven't gone reworking. I've gone X and Y locally. You
X and
mentioned
Y.
rework. That's what I was. That's what I was getting confused about. But yeah, it's good.
Other
Get out and
other
about.
co-location facilities do exist.
They do open to sponsorship opportunities from anybody. So
Go for it. So,
ah,
yeah, we've just been having a bit of a LinkedIn rant off air, haven't we? And
mm,
some of the negativity on there and comments that you get from particular people. And as well posts that go viral, which have got nothing to do with work or business, and business posts that are quite useful for people that go absolutely nowhere. And I'm sure someone will say it's because the posts we write are rubbish, but
mm,
let's see. And as I said to you, my biggest post ever is the fact I've got a new chair. That
which
was
is
probably
weird, isn't
about
it?
3 years ago. It got thousands of thousands of comments and likes. It's ridiculous.
Maybe your network is more chair orientated than.
Quite possibly. You never know. Maybe people are scared to comment on the business posts and the idiot posts about chairs, trainers, and centre parks and stuff they feel like they can chip in on.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Well, I know. It was a
But
weird
anyway,
one.
are you going to centre parks in half term or
No, 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 no. We have done.
no?
You know, I get what people say. It's like it is expensive, but if you know what it is, and it's one not far from us, so it kind of works from that perspective. So it is an easy break in that respect. But if you don't, no one's forcing you. No one's forcing me to go, and no one's forcing me to go away during the school holidays, even though I've got a school age child. No one's forcing me to do it. So I either don't go away or take my daughter on holiday to have a holiday or don't have children.
There you go. There's your option.
That's the
That,
solve.
that one's probably out the window by now, though, isn't it? The don't have children one.
Yeah, bit late for that one.
bit late for that. But I always used to get taken out of school as a kid. I remember multiple holidays as a kid where I
You
would
should walk out of school as a kid. Like, give
walk out
yourself self holidays.
self holiday. I need a break, sir. Uh, I was always taken away, and I always went with homework. My mum went into the school and said, "What work's happening next week?" And they used to give her all the work we were going to do, and it used to come with us. And every evening on holiday, I used to sit and do an hour or 2 hours homework.
Yeah,
But during the day, obviously, visiting places, going to see stuff, culture, and sitting on the beach getting a suntan.
why not?
But I don't get the whole. I get it if you're doing it all the time, but one holiday a term, it's no different for you being sick a week. It's not like you're gonna. You're basically saying if you miss a week's school through a holiday, you're going to set yourself back. But then if you miss a week being ill,
It's just
it's
nonsense.
nonsense, isn't it?
It's
Really is.
nonsense. And the thing that I got my goat is the fact that if, as per the post and the price, it's just to me holiday they take the piss. And I get it's supply and demand, and if people pay it, then so be it. But you're like, it's just how can they justify it? Someone went, they're going to knock. Maybe they undercharge the rest of the year, and I'm like, I don't believe that somehow. I think how can they justify a threefold increase in the price because of one day different that you're going 1 day or 1 week different? It doesn't cost them any more for that week than it does the week before, does it? It's like, come on,
And,
it's just taking the royally taking the Mickey.
and let's face it, when you go to centre parks, you're only paying for the lodge
Yeah,
because
everything else you have to pay for on top,
everything else you're paying for on top. The amount you spend on top of what you've paid for the holiday,
apart from the pool.
yeah, that's the only bit that's free. Everything else is a paid activity. The shop's 3 times the price as your supermarket. Other than that, you're eating out in restaurants, bowling, tennis, squash, all on top of that. So yeah, if all you did was go eat your own food that you took with you and go swimming, you might be able to get away with that. But for anyone else who wants to do stuff or do activities, it's cost a fortune.
And even that, the cost of that is just ridiculous. Some of the pricing of the activities is like,
Yeah,
like 20 quid to go and play pool or something. Like, seriously?
It's 50p in your local pub for a game of pool. So, anyway,
That's before we get in trouble with anybody else.
There's this week's ranting out the way. Someone will comment, but
Other holiday parks are available, and I'm open to sponsorship on those as well. So just let you know.
yeah, the ones in France apparently, and is it Duinrell in Holland? They're the cheaper versions.
Open to sponsorship, open for collaboration. Yeah.
I'll let you know if anyone calls to sponsor your holiday. I don't think Centre Parks will be for some reason.
I'll give a positive review no matter what. If it's free, then it's going to be brilliant. So.
Yeah, and talking about that, then that's our topic today. Actually, is data, and do you trust it?
Is it?
Do people just lie to get free holidays, Richard? So this one was based off. Obviously, I'm doing the Rory Sutherland Bad Masters course at the moment, and the episode I watched this week was around do you trust your data? And largely, I think he's saying that in the creative industry, too often they focus on like the numbers and the cost, the price, and the return on that. But actually, it's the creativeness that you need, and you need to forget almost about the data and what it's telling you, because sometimes it's the doing different that leads to longer term success or longer term remembrance of you as a brand or as a company, not an immediate I've posted this advert, it cost me £50 and we've seen sales of £500. That's fine, but actually there's a level above that, isn't there, that says actually we're just running a series of adverts and people are now talking about us, and it's in people's conscious, and it's now something that we might see a knock-on effect over time, and you can't really judge that. And one of the things that he says in that is essentially almost like you can put any story you want to the same set of data, so that you can use it if you've already got a bias and you already know what you want the answer to be. You can pretty much go and find the data that supports your bias within that. And sometimes it's quite hard for people to have a very strong opinion on something, and then the data comes back that gives them almost like the opposite opinion, for them just to go, oh, okay, I'll drop my viewpoint and I'll trust the data, and I'll take the data at face value because that's actually what's happening. It's a hard shift for some.
Interesting, yeah. I think that's why a lot of data projects maybe struggle to get off the ground, because a lot of people already maybe have their own viewpoint as to what is there or how something is. So being able to do that is interesting, isn't it? It's to change that narrative. But if you are then, because that's why they're the people to target almost when you're embarking on a data project, is to go to people that do think they know. Blockers, I guess, is what you would call them. The people that go, I don't believe anything this thing is going to tell me. And it's like, well, okay, they're the almost the people you want to target to prove wrong in some respects. Not prove wrong. That sounds like it's a bit too confrontational. But the people to prove that the data is telling the correct information. Because quite often, somebody might be sitting on a load of reports that are wrong.
Yeah.
And then the first point, there is a lack of trust. So then if you embark on a new project or a new dashboard or something, you have to validate that every single step of the way to be able to show that this output is exactly what is happening.
Yeah. Not
what you A want to see, or B what you think is happening. This is the truth. This is the what's the phrase? Numbers never lie unless you make them.
Yeah. Is that have you literally just made that phrase up? Isn't it photographs never lie? Something like that.
I'm on fire, yeah. But
it's the same with photo. The photograph one is something, isn't it? Is actually you can take a photo and put a narrative around what is happening in that photo that makes it look believable. But actually, if you're looking at the same photo from a different angle, it could be completely different, and it could be something else. So, and then funnily, I had a director once. I think I've mentioned this before. The director of planning, who we were looking at where planning enforcement issues were happening, and at the time, actually, Milton Keynes Council were working with the Space Agency, and they were taking satellite images, and it was doing layers. So it's basically a layer of this is what it looked like last week, a layer that said this is where we've granted planning permission, a new satellite layer that says this is what it looks like this week, and then there was like let's call it an AI tool, but a tool that basically went, here's where it looks like there's been development outside of those bits that we've said planning has been granted. So it kind of allowed you to spot where illegal building work was happening. And I mentioned this to our head of planning at the time and said, look, I've been unspoken to these. We could get involved in the project. It's quite a cool project to start using satellite imagery and all these layers. We could do something good. And he turned around and went, we don't need it. We already know where all the building happens outside of planning permission. You know, how can you possibly know that? Do you know what I mean? But again, it was just that gut of, we already understand this problem. We know the answer. We know where we need to be, rather than being open to kind of going, actually, that could be interesting because it might show us stuff we've not thought of or not seen, or areas where it is happening that we would have had never even thought of looking before.
Yeah.
And it was that closed-mindedness to even kind of like exploring the option or looking at the fact that there might be something out there that they can do with data.
Yeah, I mean, and I did a long time ago for a short project and did some work, and I remember doing this piece and putting everything together and coming out and going, this is the presentation, this is the information that it is being shown. And I remember showing it to a stakeholder. I won't name names, but I remember I showed it to a stakeholder who then looked at it and went, that's wrong. Just what they said. And I went, okay, how? Tell me how. And I just showing it to them, and they were like, that's not the values, not the right numbers. And I went, I had cross-checked it. I made sure 100% that I checked it. It was absolutely bang on. And I went, it is exactly, here's are the checkpoints, here's are the test results, these are the information, you can see it, how it comes out, how it's calculated, this is what it is. And if it's wrong, then I don't know, you need to tell me what I need to do to change it. And it went back and forth. And I said, well, why is it, how is it the wrong number? And the answer was, because it doesn't show me what I need it to show. And I went, well, I can't do that. It's like, that's, no, no, thank you. I'm not getting involved in that one. But yeah, so there's this preconceived idea, this refusal to accept what that was showing them because it wouldn't show the outcome that they wanted to have.
Yeah.
And you know,
I'm sure there's some Dilbert cartoons about that.
Probably.
Or something. What's the Office one with the guy with the pointy hair? That's Dilbert, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's lots of ones where he's doing data ones, and it's like, go and find me the data that suits my narrative rather than what the actual data is.
Yeah. And I get that. It's easy to kind of sit with something that you know, something that you're comfortable with. But and it's the same with anything, isn't it? You know, if you have a particular viewpoint on something, or you think something, why would you not be open to something else? Another open-minded to look at things and go, really? Oh, that's interesting. I would never have thought of that. I mean, I don't know. As a personal, from my personal perspective, I always have an open mind to a lot of things. So,
well, funny enough, we were obviously before this we were ranting about LinkedIn posts and how the ones that have gone viral, sort of thing, have been almost like nonsense posts. But I would describe them more as Facebook posts than LinkedIn posts.
Yeah.
and the ones where you're posting something useful doesn't go anywhere. But if you were never given those numbers of how many views or how many likes, how many comments, in your own mind, you would be thinking the really carefully scripted one that explains to someone how you do something better or how you do something well would be the one that people would read and would be most commented on.
Yeah.
Not, I've just ordered a new chair and it's quite comfy, sort of thing. But that's the reality, isn't it? I would assume that Facebook, I would say, yes, if I wrote a lengthy post about work, it wouldn't go anywhere, but the chair one would. LinkedIn, which is meant to be predominantly kind of work or business based, you would say that's the one that would go somewhere. So you do see the converse, the adverse kind of principle that you do need to, whatever your gut tells you is good, and always have a gut feeling for what you think is right, but that you are then going to be able to get a set of numbers or data or metrics or something to support that, or to say actually the opposite is true, and then be open-minded enough yourself to look at that and go, okay, well, maybe let's test both. Let's do an A/B test and look at both scenarios and see if what's coming back is strictly what we're seeing, or whether or not, because we've always been skewed to our thoughts of this being the way to do it, that our data is also skewed towards that. And I don't think there's enough maybe interrogation or data skills, maybe, or change skills, would you say, to be able to be presented almost with that level of information and go, okay, let's do two things, or let's do trials, or let's test something else out. And obviously it happens a lot in marketing worlds and stuff. They always talk about doing A/B tests, and I've seen stuff with the infamous Mr. Stephen Bartlett, where they talk about how many different colours and screen grabs and stuff they use on their podcasts, and based on how many people click through based on the number, that's the one they ultimately go with. And they do quite small testing. So they might say, yeah, we think a nice white screen with Stephen's face on will be the one people click on, but actually the one they click on is a dark banner with just the words on. So testing, trialing, but then learning from that, I think is hugely beneficial. And there's too many people, I think, that I meet and bump into that are so set in their own knowledge or their own past knowledge that they're unwilling to almost go through that experimental phase to see if the data and the information and everything that is telling them what they think is happening, or whether it's something else, and then be able to change their minds as well.
It's a skill. It certainly is a skill, and to be able to think about it and go, actually, I'm going to change everything I'm going to change everything I've ever seen, and everything I've ever thought of, and that's what's interesting. I think that's what adds the value there, isn't it? A lot of the biggest companies are able to, the best companies, successful companies, I guess, are able to pivot, are able to react, but the only way you can pivot and react is if you've got an open mind to be able to do so. You know, what's the definition? I'm going down another quote here, so be careful. I might have made this one up as well.
It could be three different quotes.
The definition of it. I like Del Boy with quotes. Mixing different things together is like the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. I mean, there's an argument for consistency breeds good results, but if you want to, do something, have a particular outcome, but you're doing something that isn't giving you that outcome, why keep doing that thing? You have to change it, otherwise you're going to end up with the outcome that you want. There's that kind of mentality, that kind of thought process, isn't there? So,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talk about data trust, don't we? And almost going back to source of, are you even collecting the right data to start the narrative? And I think I've mentioned before, in the old days at the council, when you asked for a report, it used to take 2 weeks to get the report, because they were pulling data, and then someone would spend 3 days cleansing the data, going through it all, filling the blanks. And by the time you'd got the report, it was the kind of out of date, or you've forgotten you'd even asked for it in the first place. But actually, if you understand the importance of the data and capturing it in the first place and making sure it's recorded correctly in the right way, then you can start to make more immediate decisions and see the effect and the changes of that. And one of the ways we used to look at, have you ever come across a Sankey diagram?
Oh yes.
I love a good Sankey diagram. But effectively,
Sure,
you almost have like the one flow in, and then we used to use it for a contact center. So a call comes in, and then it can go to one of 5 or 6 different kind of departments, and then that can move on from there. But if you then made a change to the way the contact center operated to do something, and you carried on collecting that information, you can see if actually you have changed the behavior or whether you've just shifted someone down to another route. So you're still getting the exact same number coming through, but where you've made it difficult for them to speak to a particular department, they're now just pushing 0 and going straight through to a more generic agent maybe. So you've thinned one line at the top, but actually underneath it, you've just made one 3 times as fat. And that I think is one of those things of being able to visually see quite quickly whether ideas or things that you think will improve have actually improved. And that team are probably sat there going, this is great, we've had no calls this week. But all you've actually done is moved the problem somewhere else within the organisation. But without being able to see that, you would never know that. One department would just be going, oh, we're busy at the moment. And one sat there going, well, this is great, we're not. But never the twain would meet in the middle and have that conversation. So I think there's I mean, we all talk about, don't we? There's huge amounts you can still do with data and visualizing it and using it in better ways. But I mean, obviously the point of this one today is that open-mindedness to say, yes, I trust the data that's coming in, even when it goes against what I say, and I'm willing to kind of change my viewpoint and think slightly differently and use that information in a different way. But obviously also the point of Rory's talk was there are just sometimes things that you can't just say, I've spent £5, it's brought £50 in, therefore that's good. Sometimes it's I've spent £5, I've seen nothing, but actually what's kind of running in the background process might still be good and might show you a return over time.
Well, that's what you define what good looks like. As long as you accurately define what good looks like, then you know that outcome is going to be measured correctly. You have to do that. If definition is you might not make any money, but we'll understand a lot more, then that's good. But you might not be a financial metric of good. It might be we are now far clearer on this particular set of information, so that's what we wanted to do. So we've been a success. It's about defining the metric and the outcome of what you want to see.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because obviously, I don't know when it was. Was it 2 months ago? The whole world was chatting about Jaguar. Jag. And they obviously put out one advert that stirred a lot of noise. Everyone was talking about it. Probably 60-40 hate love with what they were doing. And then I don't know anyone who's spoken about Jaguar in the last 6 weeks. No one's even mentioned it. So it had high impact, kind of high hit, got everyone talking about a brand that literally no one apart from old men was talking about. But then I'm almost like, well, where have you gone?
So what was the metric of good? What's the metric of good then? Is it impacted sales, was the outcome to cause a fuss and create market awareness, or was the outcome sales? And then that's the definition.
And I doubt it was sales. I think it was cause a fuss and get people to talk about us, because something else will be coming further down the line that will then relate back to that. But if you hadn't have done that first one and said we need to spend X million pounds basically pissing a lot of people off, so everyone is talking about us, and maybe they didn't set out to do that, but that's ultimately what has happened, then the thing that we're planning in 6 months or 12 months might not have as big effect.
Mm.
And you don't know. There's little things, isn't there? Always nuances and tweaks. But if you went to your marketing department and said, "I'm going to run a massive,
It makes you
a
think I've got a
massive
marketing
advert,"
department.
I was going to
Hang on a
say,
minute. I think I get my marketing department.
mine's here as well.
Hi, marketing here.
If you talk to your marketing department and said, "I'm going to spend, I don't know, whatever it costs them, £1 million on an advert that's basically just going to annoy a lot of people and showcase this new approach," finance would say no.
Mm.
Because they're like, what's the return? And exactly as you said, it's, will we see at least £1 million worth of car sales come through to justify the cost of the ad spend? But that's not what the advert was about, in my opinion.
Ooh.
Controversial.
If anyone from Jaguar would like to listen to this, then give us a heads up. And we're also open to sponsorship opportunities.
Also open to sponsorship, and I'll quite happily drive a Jag.
Jag.
I am an old man.
I'll just say, can you just take that shitty new logo off, though, please?
Yeah. Can I have one with the old logo on? Actually, they're a Land Rover as well, don't they? I'll have a Land Rover, please. But preferably one that doesn't break down every 3 weeks.
Or one that makes you look like a drug dealer.
Yeah. So I'm in Essex. I'm all right. They're plentiful, those kind of cars.
Yeah.
I just mean the ones that make you look like, not the actual drug dealers themselves. So.
Just thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going about this sponsorship the right way, Richard. I think you went to big companies up and then ask for sponsorship.
Not slag them off and ask for company.
Not slag them off and see if they'll bribe you with a new car.
Depends what our metrics are, you see. If the metric is to get a new car, whatever any means.
Yeah. What's our definition of good?
Anyway, you need a new car.
So big news. My plan didn't work.
Yeah, what a surprise.
So the actuator is replaced and that works. That's fitted. And the black bit, the plastic bit of the petrol thing closes. So it's no tape. That's all gone. The actual white fuel filler cap that makes it look like it blends in with the bodywork, the plan was to glue that back on and just stick it. It's normally 4 tabs. Turns out, obviously, if you try and connect it to the top bit, then the bottom bit doesn't touch. And if you try and connect it at the bottom, the top bit doesn't touch. So you can't glue it. So I might have to go online and buy a new cap, potentially a plain one, and then spray paint it to match. But we'll see.
You should go different colour. Go retro.
Go retro.
You could do what you could is you could put a logo on it. Sponsorship. Sponsored by Jag.
Yeah, my car is sponsored by Jag. My non-Jag.
You drive a Merc, don't you? So Merc sponsored by. Who do you want to do? You drive a Merc, you want to be sponsored by BMW or something, don't you? Just to really piss everybody off.
Something like that. Annoy them. Put an Audi logo on.
Well, you could get the Petra cap and put the BMW logo. Just stick a logo on it.
I'm sure you could just buy. You could buy the stickers and just put "sponsored by," and just drive around making everyone think you've got decent sponsorship.
Who would you be sponsored by, though? King Power.
King Power. No, not this year. I think I'd go with someone good this year.
Next.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who sponsors the Tigers now?
That is a very good question. I'm terrible on rugby at the moment. Since it went to BT Sport, I know that's a while ago, but I've not had it for a while, so I like watching it, but I never get. I used
to kind of half support Wasps, but since they went bust, I kind of I've not really had any allegiance as such.
No. Let me see who is our sponsor now. It's a builder, I think.
Bob.
Away kit sponsored by, or a European kit sponsored by Tops Tiles.
Tops Tiles.
Didn't know they were still going. And the
I'm sure this is riveting for our viewers, by the way.
yeah, I'm sure, very exciting for them. And the home kit is Topps Tiles. It's all Topps Tiles.
Hmm.
So that's exciting.
We should approach them then.
Yeah, I did like the old one. We were sponsored by Next.
Get that put on your petrol cap. Topps Tiles, sponsored by
Top-
Topps Tiles.
Topps Tiles. We'll get there. Anyway, fascinating viewing for the last 2 minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, I know. I was
You
almost.
Tigers, but
I was seriously just going.
that's fine.
Anyway, so but talk about
No
you
one
mentioned,
makes-
Stephen
makes
Bartlett,
this.
so we're going to get in trouble with this one as well, right? Didn't he got him bothered, didn't he, for say making some kind of unsubstantiated claims about one of his products that he sponsored that he invested in?
Yes, Huel.
That's not speculative. That's been in the press. So
That's
not
been
me
in the press.
saying
He
that.
got into trouble for Huel by saying it was nice, I think.
Is that what it was?
No, I think there's all sorts of things about Huel. It's basically Slim Fast in a can in it with a few more bits in.
You've looked at the back of it.
I'm not convinced I want to eat my lunch out of a...
Have you ever looked at the ingredients?
No, never been tempted to buy one.
I have never had one, but I've looked at the ingredients.
Is it bad?
Actually, that in itself should tell you this story, and probably why he got in bother as well.
I'm not going there. It's just not for me. So I like my food to look like food. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Maybe it's just sponsored by food. Nando's, maybe.
Do you know, I'm the only person in the world, I think.
What's your favourite food, Dickie? Too?
I've been to Nando's twice in my life.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Yeah. The first time was alright. The second time I thought it was all crap.
Banker, is that sponsorship then?
That sponsorship's gone. I like anything, really.
Chicken Hut?
I like chicken. I do like chicken. I do like a good chicken burger. That'd be my top one. If a KFC Tower Meal could sponsor me, I'd be over the moon with that.
Well, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Speaking of health claims.
Yeah. As I'm doing my fitness work down the park.
Yeah, I'm sponsored by Tower Chicken Zinger Tower Burger.
Calories in, calories out. I know the score.
Yeah, it's a simple equation, really.
It's not hard, is it? So, anyway, we've ranted on about absolutely nothing for the last 5 minutes. So let's give anyone who's made it this far a break and let them get back on with their day. And we'll get this one out. We'll get some topics for next time. Maybe some guests, as we talked about. See if there's anyone who wants.
If anyone from Jaguar, come on.
See if anyone from Jaguar, Huel, or any other brand wants to join us. See where we get to.
Might not.
Possibly not. We'll see.
You never know.
You'd
be surprised, don't you? You'd be surprised.
Stranger things have happened.
Mm.
And if I was watching, what was on yesterday? Oh, Jeremy Vine was on, and that hypnotist Paul McKenna was on. He'll jump on any bandwagon that's going at the moment. He was all about
potential guest there. Then,
yeah, he was all about manifesting. So just sit and think about where you want to be in a year, and you'll get there. So I'll think about him coming on the podcast, and he'll turn up.
You think about your petrol cap as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It will fit. It will fit.
What happened to get me to that point?
It will fit. It will fit.
We're all good.
Was it Little Britain did that? With it, look into my eyes, not around my eyes, into my eyes.
You're
under. I might have just accidentally hypnotised somebody then.
Shocking. Right, mate. On that note, we're calling it a day. This one's gone off the rails. This is your new location. It's got to...
Only not every day.
No. So okay, mate. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.